What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know the name. It's the
Journey to Radio.
Journey to Radio YouTube channel. Guys, right now I have my great friend Josephine Rubinsky here with me. She is the author of a phenomenal book. Josephine, go ahead and tell them the name.
It's called Eyes of Autonomy, and it's from the Defenders Guild series, and this is book 1. Book 2 should be coming soon, but it's a series of 10 novellas, so they're a bit shorter, and the reason I did that was because it's for teens and middle schoolers, and let's face it, most of our teens and middle schoolers these days don't have the attention span to read a full-length novel, so it kind of breaks it up a little bit, and it's a bit easier for kids like me who are dyslexic, so that was kind of the idea behind making it into a 10-book series of smaller books.
Yeah, and that's honestly really clever. And how long did it take you to write this part 1 book?
So the idea for the book, I actually got it when I was 12 years old in middle school, and I was a pretty bad student. So I would pretend to be taking notes during classes, and what I was actually doing was I would be writing out plots and making up these characters, and I was just constantly daydreaming.
Oh, wow.
Not gonna lie, sometimes I still daydream in class, especially if it's a boring one. If the professor drones on, my mind is in a different world, but yeah.
That's awesome. And what inspired you to write this book?
Oh, so many
or to
things.
Start this series?
What inspired me? It's a great question. I would say watching science fiction, movies, dystopian things. During that age, I feel like every middle schooler went through a dystopian phase, you know?
Yeah.
And I just remember watching those and thinking there's not really one that has a biblical worldview, and the ones that do are a little cheesy, you know, the Left Behind series I think of, you know, that's cheesy, but I don't know, you read the Hunger Games or Divergent, and there's this aspect of something that kids that age they get really attracted to that, and I was just thinking what would a biblical version that wasn't cheesy look like in that sense. So yeah, and the book plot is about America 50 years in the future, and so America has become this socialist state. But they fought a war with Texas, and Texas and America became two separate nations. I'm from Texas, so that's why I one day hope that we'll be an independent. But so Texas becomes its own country. But when the more conservative side of the war, when they lost the war, the state, as they're called, it's the United Socialists of America. They told their people who surrendered that they had to surrender their kids to the state or else they would be killed. So the perspective of the book is from those kids who were surrendered to the state, and the state raises them and calls them the children of the state, and they kind of become these science experiments for the state. And so the book is told through the point of view from one of those children, and how she kind of breaks out and learns the truth about her parents who live in Texas and that kind of stuff. And she also kind of goes through this thing with in the state they taught that religion and stuff was something of the past, it was this primitive thing. But when she breaks out and looks in the real world, she sees that people still have religious beliefs and that kind of view. But yeah,
That's so cool. And as you were writing the characters, as you were writing the plot, just everything that goes into this book, what were some of the challenges that you faced? Did you ever face, what is it, writer's block? Or
so yeah, what's interesting about writer's block is I had this professor. I went to Liberty University before I was here at Moody, and we had this. She was amazing. It was Karen Kingsburg. She's a very famous novelist, and her advice to not getting writer's block is forcing yourself to write 500 words every single night. And so I found that if you consistently write 500 words every single night, you won't get writer's block. Because you trick your brain to push past it. Yeah. So the only time you get writer's block is when you slow down and stop being disciplined. So
it's so interesting.
Yeah, so it's mainly a thing of discipline. I remember I was writing the first chapter, and that first 100 words seemed impossible.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting at my desk, and I was I'm not going to leave here until 500 words are on this document. And I pushed through, and then it just started flowing, and it got more natural, and then it was just super natural. And then it was so easy, and then I stopped writing 500 words a night. Now I'm trying to like, get back into that rhythm, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But it's hard when you stop and then start again. You're like, oh, I was so disciplined for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, this is kind of off topic about, you know, challenges, but are you a self-published author?
So yeah, I am a self-published author. I have on the back of the book, you can go to like the website and the Instagram. It's defenders/guild.com. That's the website. And then the Instagram is defenders_guild_series. So I own all of the rights. So some people, like, when they publish a book, like, they'll go through Amazon in order to, like, get the rights to have, like, the copyright. What I did was, like, I became my own publisher in a way of, like, I bought the rights to have, like, the international book number. Like, I own everything. The copyright is, like, from the Library of Congress. Like, it's all pretty, like, legit. So it's a real book. It's not just, like, self-published.
And, you know, kind of walk us through the process of, you know, being a self-publisher, how that might go, because some people might be watching and they might be in the process of writing a book. They want to get it published. They don't know where to go, what the first step might be. So, you know, maybe tell the viewers.
Oh yeah, man, self-publishing, it takes a lot of work and a lot of time. And I had a class that I really didn't like last year that was a block class, and I researched all this during that block class. So it goes back to the daydreaming about things I want to do during class. But I would say the very first step is get a manuscript that you love, you know, like write it, get it edited, get it peer reviewed by friends that you know, and after like you have all of that done, the best way to honestly do like writing and stuff like that, there is a thing you can get on your computer called Scrivener. It's like an app you like download. And it like makes a manuscript for you, so like you don't have to know how to do it. So it's really, it's like a one-time $25 purchase. It'll save you so much time. And so once you have the manuscript, you can go to like, I think it's Bowker.com. Like that's the official website for the International Book Standard number. You can like buy a book there and like, or buy book numbers they have in bulk, or you can buy a single individual, depending on like how many books you want to publish, what you want to do with that. And then you'll send it in to the copyright with the government. So, like, you'll go, like, look up that. When I first started doing this, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I felt like I had to research all of it. And I remember crying out to the Lord once. I was like, Lord, I feel so alone in this process. And then it happened that I was telling my friend about it, and she was like, well, my mom's a copyright lawyer. And I was like, no way. And so it was like the Lord kind of provided me someone to, like, advise me in the process. So I was like, wow, like, that was really the Lord. And I did the book cover design all by myself using Canva. And
so it was Canva. You know, I was curious about the design. Like, how did you, like, what is it about the image that inspired you to, or what inspired you to make it that particular image?
So yeah, I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see. This is the image, the eye, and the scope. It looked kind of dystopian. But the character, her name's Piper O'Prey. That's the main character. She is she's a very spunky 14-year-old. And so the state takes these children and they like genetically modify them to like be weapons or like be spies, you know, like that kind of situation. And so they give them like genetic modifications. And one of hers is she's going into espionage, and that's what she's being trained for. So they give her the ability to change her eye color from blue to brown. Like she can change her eye color when she thinks about it. But they have this like chip that the state gives them to track it, and it also kind of like helps with the scientific things, the genetic modification. But when they take the chip out, it makes one of her eyes blue and the other one brown. And so it's just like stuck like that. And so it's a very like defining quirk for her as someone who is trying to like always fit in. And so that's
honestly very interesting how that concept in the book. That's so cool.
Yeah, so Piper O'Prey, like she becomes very notorious, and like her name, like the state kind of portrays her as this like terrorist, you know, and they call her like the black-eyed empress, you know, because one of her eyes is dark and the other one's like blue. Yeah, so that's the story of why it's like an eye on the cover.
That's honestly very creative. I don't think I could like have that kind of idea. Like that's really cool.
I don't know, the Lord just like inspires things, you know, like the Lord gives you ideas and you're like, that's so good. Like it's so interesting. I will be writing sometimes and I'll be a plot twist will like happen out of nowhere, and I'm like, dude, I didn't even see that coming. That happened to me in the book too. There was like one character like really surprised me. So like I was like, if the author's surprised, I know like the reader is gonna be thrown by this one because it was wild.
That's awesome. One thing that I was going to ask about the book is, I know earlier you mentioned it was peer reviewed. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so what you do whenever you write a book, you send it to like friends who are honest, and give you an honest opinion.
Yeah.
And you send it to them, and they'll read it, and they'll be like, hey, like, this character, like, I didn't understand why they did this, or like, I wish this character was more developed, or I really loved this character. Like, they'll give you advice about like the plot, like plot holes, things like that, like if things don't make sense, and then they'll just like kind of edit, like, you wrote, like, you spelled that wrong, or like this needed to be like that. And so I had two really close friends of mine who did that for me. And so this second book, I'm actually getting 10 beta readers, so I'm like expanding it so the content can be better and better. And it is a work in progress. Yeah. So like I kind of see this as like my little like baby, like this is my franchise. So I'm trying to grow it. And so I'm actually pretty soon I'm gonna be revising book 1, and there's a prologue that's completely free, completely available like on the website. Oh, the other thing, if you go to the website, there is a free audiobook, so you can listen to the entire thing for free. Like, you don't have to pay for book 1. So if you want to just listen to it, you can go to, once again, it's defenders/guild.com, and you can get the free audiobook there. It's on the YouTube channel, and so it's just like a little, and a new chapter is released every week. But what were we talking about? The peer review?
Peer review. Yeah, the process of peer review.
It's constantly getting like better. So book 1 is actually about to have an edition 2 that includes that 10,000 word prologue. So it's from it's from a perspective of a character in the book named Azariah Jones, and his story is that he was a scientist for the state, but the state like had asked him to do something immoral, and so he felt like he couldn't do it. And so that's what the prologue is about, like him escaping from that. And in the process, he saves someone, and then that person and him eventually go, and they're the ones who tell Piper about like the outside world. So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And one last question is, from without giving too many details, too many spoils, what is your favorite like part of the book?
Book 1. Yeah. There's this epic fight scene in the book, like towards the end. It's like the climax of the book, and I think that it's just like there's a lot of twists and a lot of like things, but then there's this one scene in the fight, and this was so random, but Shakespeare has these historical plays, and they're very unknown. Like, not many people read like Henry V, like those. I was reading it for a Shakespeare class I was in, and I was really inspired by the Battle of Agincourt from Henry V, which is like a historical battle. But like King Henry was like super outnumbered by the French, and like he gets up and like gives this speech, and like according to history, the speech was so amazing that like even though they were like 5 of them, they like overcame like all these French people, like supposedly the story. Oh wow! And so that was kind of like the idea behind like this one scene. Like Piper gets up and like gives this speech. And it was kind of like based off of that like Henry V Battle of Agincourt thing, and that's where actually the name Guild came from, because it was like based in like the Middle Ages kind of. Yeah. So, but this is based 50 years in the future, so that's where the Defenders Guild comes from. Yeah. It's from that. That's probably my favorite like little detail. Really? It's a really random detail. Yeah, that's so cool. Well, is there anything else that you'd like the viewers to know? That's it. I would love for you guys to listen to the book, give feedback. If you're interested, you can buy it, but also like it's free, so you don't have to buy it. And like I just want to make the content available to you guys. Follow me on Instagram. I'd love to keep up with you guys. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also give this guy some likes. Thank you. Yeah. And thank you guys for hosting me on the radio show. Yeah, of course. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. Josephine, thank you so much for being on here and showing us and talking to us about your book. Guys, this is going to conclude this interview. Again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to stay tuned for upcoming videos. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until next time, you guys, God bless. That was good. That was good.